Hey everyone, this is Kelly and I am here today with a fall card using some new products from Honeybee Stamps. I am going to be using the Gather Together stamp set along with some other forest friends. But first I wanted to try my hand at a fall scene using my Copic markers, and I have never done this before, so if I can do this and make this little tree, anybody can do this because it was super easy. It took me not very long, maybe 20 or 30 minutes for the tree part, but it's just flicking on some leaves onto your paper. No kind of design, no little dots that might take quite a while. You kind of are just flicking your marker on. Now I did go in certain directions, so out to the right side I flicked toward the right, and to the left I flicked to the right. I kind of had an idea of where I wanted the tree trunk to go, and so I just chose all kinds of fall colored markers, and I have those listed on the screen there, to do my leaves. I'm just going over and over, filling in any white space, adding all that pretty color. I did want to keep kind of the right side of that paper lighter, like the sun's kind of coming from that area, plus the tree trunk is going to be on the left side, so I was kind of keeping that in mind as I went. So I just kept going and added leaves, and now I am starting on the tree trunk. So this is the part that kind of made me nervous. I tend to keep things super simple when using my Copic markers, and I didn't want to cover up all those beautiful leaves that I had spent the time drawing on there. So I started out with the trunk, and the key is you don't want to cover up or draw over all your leaves. You want to keep open spaces because it makes it look like a natural tree. You're not going to have or find a tree in nature that has just one side of it cut off and you just see the whole trunk of the tree on that side. So you want to make sure that you have parts of it covered up with your leaves, and I even go back later on and add some more leaves over those little holes that I've left open. So I'm starting on the ground now, and I started out with just a base coat of the lightest yellow, and then I'm going to start flicking on the leaves here and there as I go. Towards the bottom of the tree and towards the outside of the tree, I do add some just tiny little dots and flicks so the leaves get smaller as they go out toward the end of the limb, but that was easy peasy. And anywhere that it looks like you may need to fill in with one color or another, it's super easy just to go back in and add that color. So I'm going back and forth with colors I've already used. I have my little pile of colors that I have used. I'm doing the leaves on the ground. I'm going to pull in some darker brown leaves on the left side of the tree towards the trunk and on the ground, like they've gotten a little older and a little more crunchy. But yeah, just super easy, just flick on the leaves. I do go in and kind of smooth out the bark of the tree so it doesn't look so splotchy with that really dark brown. But as you'll see here in a minute, when you add your little critters and everything onto your scene, it looks perfect. And this is one of those things that you could literally just sit there and tinker with forever. So you kind of have to know when to stop and just kind of step away and let it be what it's going to be. So I'm smoothing out the trunk of the tree. I'm going to add some more leaves, some more red leaves right around the trunk of the tree. Seeing how those little critters look. And I also colored these little Gather Together critters with Copic markers, and I have super duper sped this up because it was a really long video. So I have kept the coloring in. I've added all the labels for the critters and what I used on those critters there in the corner. And I'm just going to turn some music on and finish the coloring. After coloring all the little critters, I am pulling out the coordinating dies that you can purchase along with this stamp set. And I love this die because not only does it cut out all the little grouping of your critters, but also the in-between parts. So around their little necks and their arms, use a little washi tape to hold that down. And I'm going to see how that looks on my little fall scene there. I like that. I love the colors. And I'm going to pop this up with a little bit of foam tape. I doubled the foam tape on the critters on the ends, like they're gathered around the card recipient, just to pop those up just a little bit. I don't know that it made just a huge bit of difference in the long run or for the finished design, but that's kind of the look that I was going for. I didn't want to triple the layers because I thought that might be too thick and too much, but I am now pulling off the backing of that foam tape and I'm going to add those right onto my fall tree scene that I have there and make sure that they're stuck down really well. After I get those little critters in place, I'm going to take the Gansai Tambi Starry colors watercolor set. I'm going to use the red gold, and I barely added just a little bit of water into that little well because I want it to be pretty concentrated when I put it onto my brush. This adds just the most beautiful shimmer and sparkle into those leaves, and that color just goes perfectly with all those fall colors that I brought in with the Copic markers. So I'm adding that all up into the tree, down into the leaves that have fallen onto the ground. Make sure they're all spread out. And then at the very end, just for a little shimmer and a little sparkle, I took just the tip of my brush and I'm going to add a few little drops or drips or sparkles here and there. I set this aside and let it dry. These watercolors don't take a long time to dry, but I didn't want to smear all that beautiful gold sparkle. And then I took a black glaze pen. I love this glaze pen because it not only adds shine to the little critters' eyes and noses, but it also adds a little dimension. It's almost like the Nuvo drops or something like that. It's just a lot more controlled in that pen. I used some glossy accents on the tip of the little bear's nose and just took a needle and spread that out all the way to the edges. So cute. For the little berries and the things that the critters are holding, I'm using Autumn Red Nuvo drops, and I am barely touching those Nuvo drops or the end of that bottle to the little berries because the little berries are so tiny in that little image that I didn't want to make a mess with the Nuvo drops. So I'm just barely touching that to the paper. I use the Distress Oxide in Spice Marmalade, and this little stamp is called Forest Friends. I love this little stamp. They all look like they go together and they all could be buddies. So I stamped him in that Spice Marmalade, and then I am going to use the sentiment that says kind people are my kind of people. I use my anti-static powder tool, ink that up with the Nuvo Clear Mark ink, and stamp that down. And I'm going to use the Simon Says Stamp Antique Gold embossing powder. I am going to be super careful because I did dry that little bear and his friends with my heat tool, but that ink stays wet a little bit longer than others. So I was super careful with my embossing powder. I'm going to set that until it is nice and smooth and try to get a little bit of the wrinkles out of my paper. Turn that over, and then with a little bit of ATG adhesive, I'm going to add my little fall scene with my critters gathered together right there on that card base. I use a little bit of orange coordinating paper, and then the card base is Nina Desert Storm. So cute. I love these new stamps from Honeybee Stamps. You can see the shine on the little bear's nose and the shine in the leaves on the trees and on the ground. It was so fun. Try these fall backgrounds with these trees. It was so fun, super easy. All of the supplies can be found at Honeybee Stamps. Check out the new stamps and the release this week, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.